Welcome everyone to Texas Platinum, the last of the real water cooler talk shows on YouTube. I'm Trevor, joined by both Matts, and today's episode, I don't even know if I'd call it an episode, but today we are recapping the great spring game that Texas put on just a matter of a few days ago on 420. Lots of thoughts about it. Really exciting spring game. A lot of really compelling player highlights. We're going to kind of go through all that, share our thoughts, and kind of look ahead to the upcoming season as well based on the spring game and kind of project where we're thinking things are headed. And the NFL draft's coming up real soon, so I'm going to tune in a little bit about that. But before we get into it, please like, comment, subscribe, all the usual. Thank you for doing so. Our channel's kind of at a bit of a plateau, but you know what? That's fine. Like if you stumble across this video and you're like, who are these guys? Like, give us that subscription, help us out. We'd appreciate that. But we're rolling steady here. I'm gonna hand it off to Madrid first. Kind of give me your opening thoughts on the spring game and I guess spring as a whole now that it's over.
I mean, you guys know I'm usually the type not to try to derive too much from the spring game, but I will say this is probably the most organized or there's a lot of execution being done on certain levels that I feel like we're not used to. I feel like usually we're just hoping that the offense looks like they could run a few plays together without it looking catastrophic, but I think this time we actually saw some fireworks, which is, I don't know, something I'm not really particularly used to. Um, we got some limited run from like the starters. We weren't gonna see a lot of like the O line together. We weren't gonna see a lot of Quinn. We weren't gonna see a lot of our or Vern Broughton didn't even play. Um, but we saw flashes in areas where I thought there were question marks or at least newcomers, and um, obviously on the offensive end, I think we flashed an evolution in that offense, which is just dying to break out again, if to a next level. I don't. I the receivers that we can't like. I thought we will not miss Xavier Worthy and AD Mitchell as much as people might think. We got blessed in that receiver room for sure. But you know what? The main thing, and Sark said it in the press conference afterwards, is no injuries, which is huge. We all came out clean, and you know what? They played tough football. Like they were putting hats on people. They were not taking it slow, and they made sure they played at full speed. And to be able to play at full speed and also leave the game healthy, I think strength wise and conditioning wise, we're in a good place. So I really liked what I saw overall. Execution was really high. We got to see flashes from players that we've been waiting for a long time. Not to mention, not completely not mentioning Arch Manning and even Trey Owens in that conversation. There's a lot of position rooms that look very strong right now. Have some holes somewhere, but I don't. I think it's nothing we can't find replacements for. So overall, I try not to get too hyped about these spring ball games, but we at least look organized and structured and look like we know what we're doing with the talent we have, which is, man, I love that.
Yeah, I like how you're not overhyped right now because I'm going to be the optimist here. I've watched like every spring game probably the last 20 years, and it's just really amazing to see the evolution of the program under Stark. We're finally seeing that offense that we hired him to bring here that's just full of talent everywhere, and it executes. It's well coached. Everybody's dialed in. At least it appeared on Saturday, and that's just what you heard all spring camp as well. So it's just great to see it all come together. I'm surprised you didn't really harp on Arch Manning much because everybody and their mother was talking about how Arch is just going to take over the job. Quinn Ewers is, watching his shoulder now, and QB controversy in Austin. And I will say, Arch I do like some things he does. At least it's a spring game. It's hard to take a lot from it, but there's a lot of things that Arch does, I would say, better than Quinn. But Quinn is our quarterback. Quinn's experienced. I do like speaking on Quinn real fast. I don't like Quinn's demeanor when he's talking to the media and stuff. He just seems very like emo and I don't know. It just seems really just like miserable whenever you might just not like be a media guy, but you're the quarterback. You're the face of the franchise. Like at least fake some excitement or charisma or confidence. I don't know. It's just always rubbed me the wrong way. But either way, Quinn's our guy. And if something happens to him, Arch looks more than capable. Same with Trey Owens. But I like how you mentioned Madrid, that we had no injuries. And I'm knocking on wood as I say this. And I say this pretty much every episode now because we've seen what it's like when you have Yancey McKnight running your program. And who was it with Charlie Strong? Some other bum probably.
More?
Yes, Pat Moore.
Yeah.
Just running like prison camps with no it's just night and day because everybody's first of all faster, they develop their bodies and they stay healthy. No one gets hurt, knock on wood. I mean, injuries happen always, of course, it's football, but at the rate that it happened under Herman compared to now is just like it's unbelievable really how big of a difference it is. And that can make all the difference in a program and a coach having success is just getting a strength and conditioning program that can keep the team healthy and keep them developing. So I'll throw it over to you, Trevor, before I go too in depth on the game. But just big picture wise, that's how it's supposed to look. I love how it came down to the wire. The orange team won, and they were jumping around like they won I don't know, like they won a conference championship or something. So I love to see that competitiveness, and I like how we had Arch in at the last second, playing the starters, the ones that were available down to the wire, and I think it's just great energy around the program, and recruiting is going to take off even more than it already is with, all the hype that we have building. And Sark's doing the thing, man. It's awesome. It's so much fun to watch, and I just can't wait for the fall.
Yeah. It was, I mean, you were talking about the progression of spring games, and it made me think back to Sark's first spring game. We all were in attendance together. It was 2021. And it was so bad. It was awful. I just remember like we were just like we don't have any wide receivers, and like I think that same day is when Xavier Worthy like committed or something to Texas or put in his transfer, and we were all like, oh thank God. I remember even like Steven from Fanatic Perspective was like, well, we got this guy coming in, thank God, because we look so bad. Such the opposite problem now. Now it's just like an absolute, you know, riches of talent at receiver. All of them, I think, looking really good. Um, Obviously, we'll touch on it later, but of course, Ryan Wingo looked really good and is probably the next big star. But I mean, all of these guys could be. I mean, even down to like DeAndre Moore, which I think a lot of people have totally forgotten about. That guy's like an elite talent, super highly ranked, and he's been waiting his turn, and I think he'd be great in the slot. Um, but yeah, I mean, offensive line, defensive line, very solid. Uh, Running back room, I think, was pretty serviceable too. I was pretty impressed there. I don't know if I saw a lot of like super big runs per se, but Jaden Blue, my God, he looks great in the slot. Like that one touchdown from Arch Manning to him, like I had to do a double take. I was like, is that a receiver? Like the way he ran that route and caught that ball, and he was just fantastic. And then, yeah, defensively, of course, there's, a lot to address with the secondary. But at the same time, like, I think a lot of the people that were like totally lapsing and giving up, just getting burned, I think a lot of those guys are like depth players for the most part. So I'm not overly worried about the secondary, but it was frustrating to see, after Washington, and everyone's like, okay, we're upgrading at secondary. And it's like, still looks very bust worthy. So, but yeah, I mean, great spring game, very promising. I think gets everyone really excited for the next season. And it's funny because like it's probably one of the better spring games in all the country because I'm kind of checking up now that the weekend's over and kind of looking into like all these other teams that had spring games like Oklahoma and A&M and rivals like that, and like for the most part Michigan, and they all had pretty bad spring games. And granted, I know spring game isn't totally indicative of what your season will bring. In fact, there's a good chance it won't be, but still the fact that we went off with such a bang, um, from the starters to our depth for the most part, I think is just really exciting.
If I could just kind of, I want to add to that the Arch Manning hype. I am first off that guy. Him and Trey Owens are huge. I didn't know
Trey
how big
Owens,
they
I was
were,
really
and
impressed
they've
with.
only gotten, or Arch has only gotten like bigger since he's gotten here. I did not know Quinn looks small compared to those two. It really does. It's night and day. Um, but I really, if I could inject some, I don't know if you guys watch Hate State or you know what I'm talking about. Uh, well, if you saw his little bit on the Texas Spring game, it just he always brings some kind of rationale to college football, which I always enjoy. But like a QB controversy is a bad thing. Like if you have a controversy, that means the room isn't up to par, and we don't know who our quarterback is.
It's
We know who
Casey
our
and
quarterback
Hudson.
is. Yeah, exactly. That
That's
was
a
bad.
controversy.
That's a controversy. That was gross. What we have here is healthy competition. We know who our starting quarterback is. It's Quinn. There's the reason he only played 2 drives. And there's a reason why Sark says, yeah, we know what we're getting out of him, which is great. But what we have here is a very healthy competition. If you look the past 2 years, I think Quinn has gotten better every single year, albeit maybe a little slow, and albeit maybe that skipping of a senior year was a bad idea. But he has gotten better, and I like what I see out of him. But he's also like missed chunks of the season for the first 2 years, and if that trend continues and Arch gets put in there, like we better hope that Quinn has put up or has built up enough good faith equity in the season for him to get that job back, or or God forbid Arch implosion when he goes in. But what I'm saying here is this is where we want to be right here. We want to be sorting through quarterbacks with a fine tooth comb, saying it's like trying to figure out what are the small differences in these players. When in reality, either one of them could really be the guy, but the reality of having multiple guys in that room is something that I don't think Texas fans are used to, or I'm not even used to myself. So I think we're in a really good spot. The first time in a long time in that room right there, and iron sharpens iron in there. And um, if Quinn keeps the job, that just means in my eyes, I trust Sark as an evaluator in that regard. In my eyes, that means he's gotten better. So uh, I think it's good that we have some fire underneath some guys. So I think that's a really good or an important distinction to make with the whole QB stuff. Um, Also, it's just really cool seeing a Manning in a Texas uniform slinging. It's nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome, and it's just great for publicity and everything. But um, yeah, with Quinn, I think we need to keep in mind that the reports of him all spring were like he's just been nails, like he's been dialed best spring ever. He's you
He
know
needs to be.
yeah. I mean, he sees even Trey Owens, dude. Trey Owens looks like Mac Jones, prime Bama Mac Jones, at least in the
Yeah.
spring game, just with ease, stepping up in the pocket, throwing beautiful passes. As a freshman, as an early enrollee, that's crazy. But yeah, man, that's what it's supposed to look like, and it's just so rare in college football these days to have, you know, two stud quarterbacks like that in the same room, and then arguably three if you want to throw Trey Owens in that. He's not as good as those two, but he looks serviceable to say the least. But yeah, man, that's awesome. And the O line, I thought did great in pass pro, which, it's kind of hard to judge the O line versus D line and who wins versus who in zero sum spring ball. But I thought we saw like it's the best case scenario because the O line held up in pass pro, which is a strength of ours. But against the run, our D line, which is like the question mark, did well against the run. I thought there were no huge gaping holes. Tia Savea, I want to shout him out, the Arizona guy. He was just a depth guy, and he probably still is because Alfred Collins really didn't play much, and Broughton didn't play at all. He got married during the spring game, which is kind of funny. And then, not to mention, Bill Norton just committed to Texas, who was rated higher than Savea at Arizona. They were running buddies on that interior D line, which is a top 20 rush defense at Arizona, the same Arizona team that tore up OU in the Alamo Bowl. And then there's also that Toya guy from UCLA that Texas has in the back pocket, I want to say, knock on wood, or Dominic Williams from TCU, All-American, Big 12 player, defensive tackle. There's options there that Texas is kicking the tires on because I think there's urgency from our boosters and like our coaching staff because I think if you look around the team, it's like, are we really going to let a hole on the defensive line stop this team from potentially winning the SEC, winning a national championship? Like this team is, it's not a, I mean, it's too late to say like how well they're going to do, but on paper, like there's not too many holes, man. It looks really good. And that's why we have like a top 5, top 3 preseason ranking, and Vegas has us as like a top 3 championship odds. So I'm glad that we have that urgency, and it seems like our recruiting staff's doing a great job there. But the whole D line backing out, away from transfers, Justice Finkley is the guy that Texas fans kind of just gloss over, don't really think about. And I'm guilty of this too. But man, honestly, Finkley, I thought looked great in the spring game. He showed a first step that I didn't know he had. He looked fast. He looked like Colin Simmons at times, getting off the edge with quick twitch. And he was never a quick guy like that in high school, and he was never known to be that. He's supposed to be a run stopper, strong side defensive end, but he showed some twitch, man. And I'm excited to see him maybe take over for Baron Sorrell the following year after Sorrell rides off to the NFL. But watch out for Finkley. I'm happy that he's making progress in the weight room and all that because he looks good. He looks the part. He looks like Sergio Kindle out there. Colton Vasek, finally healthy. He looks like a Bosa brother out there, and he moves like one too. It's he was unstoppable there in portions of the second half. And also Alex January, the freshman from Duncanville, just a 3-star guy, defensive tackle. But that guy, trust me, and it's not just me, like a lot of people are saying this, that guy's next up. He'll be a NFL player for a long time down the line. He's a little baby right now, but he's huge, and he's already making an impact early. So I really like our defensive line. You lose Murphy and Sweat. It's hard. It's never going to be the same. We're never going to have that rush defense again, I don't think. But I think we'll definitely have a better edge play and more depth on the edge. Didn't see Trey Moore at all, who's apparently our best pure pass rusher. Colin Simmons looked great. Ant Hill was flying around. Bendo was flying around. He didn't play too much though, but Blackwell. I just love the intensity we played with all in the front 7. I'd like to add one more linebacker in the portal potentially for more depth, and of course the secondary needs some more time to gel. But I think the talent's there, man. I really do. And we'll see. I don't think it's time to panic quite yet. We didn't have Jade Barron. Manny Muhammad didn't play too much. We're still trying to figure out who's going to be like our starting 2 safeties. I thought Makubo looked really good in spurts that he played. Derek Williams is like probably the most athletic safety I've ever seen. The way he comes downhill and just tracks the ball. They always called him like a raptor in high school, like a velociraptor, and he's definitely living up to that. So I think he's going to be a great player for us. But we just need to find ways to patch up that defense. I don't know if it's scheme, because I think we do have the talent, or if it's coaching. But the good news is you look at the schedule, we don't really have any air raid teams that we're going to be playing until maybe OU, if you want to consider them air raid. I guess Hale State will be the veer and shoot, but Hale State and Austin, like, I think we'll be okay with that. So we're going to have time to get that settled throughout the season because Michigan, they're going to try to run the ball on us and play Big Ten football without a doubt. They don't have good receivers, don't have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We got time to get that fixed. But overall, man, this team looks this team looks dangerous in the month of April. So I'm very excited.
Well said. I'm trying to think of what else have we not really covered. Um, I don't know. I feel like we just went pretty in depth on all that. I mean, we could keep talking about Arch and Quinn. I guess we
Well,
kind of touched on wide receiver room. What do y'all
two
think?
things I think I wanna add to at least the defensive talk a little bit was I don't think there's a chance we really replace uh Murphy and Sweat. I think that duo was really special last
Yeah,
year. But I think what
more
we're
of a
gonna be
committee.
doing, yeah, exactly. No, exactly. And with the I think we're gonna be trading interior strength for the edge strength, which I like a lot more. But I think with the additions of Norton and hopefully the progress that Broughton and Collins, even Sorrell for a little bit in that equation. Um, Hopefully, what they bring is good enough. I mean, we don't need to be the number one run stop defense. We just need to be a good run stop defense, and then have those edges firing on all cylinders on third and long. You know, I think that's super important. I think that's going to be something different we see this year with the defense, which will be interesting. And we got a lot of options on the edge, man. Just a lot of options, a lot of athletes there. So I'm excited about that. And secondly, I think it's very telling that Gideon and Joseph didn't get extensions. I and because we all saw the Sugar Bowl, or is that what we were playing? Yeah, the Sugar Bowl. We saw it throughout the whole year. That was a time after time again. That was the weakness of this defense, was the back end of it. And we got I Myers said, I think Myers is right. We have the talent there. Derek Williams. We have the, I can't say his last name, but the Clemson transfer. Um, and Manny Muhammad was a guy that was popping off for us at the end of the year. Um, and of course Jade, but I think it's going to be a really telling year for those two coaches, because I really do think in my opinion, I do think it's scheme oriented, and I do think they need to do a better job, because I think the talent is there to at least not be that much of a liability. I know that's not what the strength of the defense is, but it really shouldn't be that much of a liability. So that's just something I needed to add there, because I thought that was very telling.
Yeah.
What about let's talk a little bit about the tight end room with Jatavian Sanders gone. Um, Myers, that seemed to be a big something you were talking about earlier that you felt was pretty strong.
Yeah, no, I really liked what I saw from the tight ends. I think Gunnar Helm, and I could be off base with this because I'm really not that film oriented, but I think Gunnar Helm is potentially like a good blocker. Like, I don't know Jatavian good,
I
but
think I think he's the reason we didn't go after that Stanford tight end. Brett, you're sick or whatever, and we went with Knee Black instead, because I think Gunnar Helm can do what we were looking for. Sorry to interrupt, but I think just reading between the lines.
yeah, no, I'm glad you said that. And he's also like whenever he's got soft hands and I don't know about his route running, but he gets open. And I think he's a very reliable safety blanket, kind of like not as good as David Thomas, but he kind of reminds me of David Thomas in his style. Um,
Yeah,
but Nyblack looks like a receiver out there.
yeah, he does.
He's kind of going to be a nightmare matchup, just like that unguardable little slip screen to the tight end. That's going to break the back of so many defenses. Slip in a little delayed screen out to Nyblack with room to run, because we ran that play like 3 or 4 times in the spring game, and it always ended up getting like positive chunks. And Nyblack, I want to say, is more explosive than Jatavion when he gets the ball in his hand. He's a little bit faster. So that's exciting. And then Jordan Washington, the freshman, looked fantastic. He had that circus catch and had another couple good plays too. And you've heard great things about him all spring, so you're seeing it now. And he's got a good frame. Obviously, let Torrey Benton do more. I mean, he's just an early enrollee. Give him like a year or two. He's going to be having a adult body by then, and I think he'll be hopefully just NFL type player for us because that's the type of remarks you hear about him behind the scenes. So that's good. I really like our tight end room. You know, Jatavion, he did so bad at the combine and the Texas Pro Day. You kind of wonder, like, he's had to have slipped a lot. 8 on 225 for bench at a dude that size. That's bad.
Mm.
That's really bad. And that doesn't mean anything like in terms of game game action. Like you can still be a great NFL player if you can't bench that much. But it just sucks, lose a decent amount of money on draft day because of stuff like that. So kind of wish he would have came back for us selfishly, but I'm sure once he finds a spot in the NFL, he'll be fantastic. But he's got great hands and he's a great player. So, but yeah, one thing I want to talk about too a little bit more before we move on is you mentioned him earlier. Was it Madrid or Stiff? Jaden Blue, man, that guy. I don't know if I remember a Texas Longhorn player. I think of guys like Ramon Taylor, DJ Monroe, maybe to Jay Johnson, but even him, like I wouldn't. I think Jaden Blue's beyond that. Where you give this guy the ball in space, and it's like kind of embarrassing for the defense because he's going to embarrass whoever's trying to tackle him in the open field because he's just so fast, so quick twitchy, and he's like put on good weight too. He looks really good out there. He looks like a bell cow running back almost. Like he's built. He's got that build now, but the speed is still there, and
You
he
know
just
what? Jamal Charles. He's
yeah.
got some
You stole it, bro.
Jamal.
I was literally trying to
You're thinking the
interrupt,
same thing?
and yeah,
I'm like,
dude,
who do you
yeah.
remind me of? He's got the Jamal feel
He's
to him
got
for
the
sure.
frame and the low
And the
center of
speed.
gravity with the speed is nasty, nasty business.
Yeah. And then you got Baxter next to him, who's going to be your more of your bell cow guy to help take the load. And Baxter's good too. He's no slouch. And of course, Wisner's coming on. He's had a great spring.
I
Didn't
thought
see
he
him
looked
on
good.
Saturday, but you can see the speed. He's kind of got that. I don't know if it's Jaden Blue level, but he's got that breakaway speed, and he's going to be great in special teams and maybe fill that Keelan Robinson role for us if it's not Silas Bolden that when he transfers in. Speaking of which, Silas Bolden's going to have to work really hard this summer because our receiver room's so stacked. We can't play all seven of them at once. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I wish we would have seen more from our running backs. But in the grand scheme of things, I think it's good that our running backs kind of got stuff at the point of attack most of the time because that was the biggest question mark coming into the game. And I'm saying this again, like I thought our D line held up well against the run, which was obviously the biggest point of emphasis throughout this spring and this offseason. So the trends are good.
I guess kind of unless you guys have another thought regarding our team and going into spring. How would you guys start your starting receivers? How would you guys divvy that up? Because we have so much talent, and I don't think there's one right or wrong way to do it, but they all look really good. I mean, and I know we've had depth before. Like last season was we have depth and but Sark doesn't really rotate guys too much. So even though it is kind of like, oh, it doesn't matter too much who our starting and non-starting receivers are because we're so deep. Um, it does kind of matter for him, at least when it comes to the receiver room. So how do you guys kind of break down who goes where and kind of that hierarchy of things?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think you have to put Ryan Wingo in your first three, just based on he's a different matchup than the rest of the receiver room. He's
Yeah.
bigger, he's faster, straight line speed, I think. And dude, the way he adjusts to balls, like he just makes it look so simple out there. That's just God-given talent. And he's just a pupil out there. And he's not even familiar with the offense yet or a college weight room. But even so, like that gives you a dynamic on the offense that you don't have with the other receivers. So I think he needs to be out there, let him cook. Uh, Isaiah Bond needs to be in that group too. I know he started off poor in the first half, but he came on late, and that's a reliable, experienced guy that has top end speed, has made huge plays in huge games on huge stages, and that's our ace receiver that we paid probably $5 million for, or whatever the number is. And then it gets hard once you get past those two, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I leaning Jonte because Jonte had a great spring game. You heard great things out of him all spring, and it's kind of by default because it's Jonte or Golden, in my opinion. And I'm a huge Golden guy, but Golden was banged up all spring. So I think by default you give it to Jonte, but like you really have to rotate these guys because DeAndre Moore looked really good too.
he did.
And I think he's the best route runner, they say, on the entire team. So you got to
Yeah.
reward some of these guys, and you might have one or two alphas like Bond playing every snap, but I think besides Bond and maybe Wingo, and Wingo's probably not going to be an alpha. He's a freshman, but maybe one or two guys. But that third, they need to be. It needs to be. Sark needs to change his philosophy this year, just a little bit, just a little bit. Get more weapons on the field. So we'll see how he plays it out. That's my ranking. What do you think, Madrid?
I think the way it's gonna start out, it's gonna be Bond and Golden, just for like experience sake, and then have like and then that third rotating receiver is gonna be like Cook, Wingo, Moore, maybe even Nibbler. I saw some nice plays from him. Like I think you're right that there needs to be some kind of rotation, but I honestly think something in the middle of the season is going to happen where uh it's going to overtake. Golden's going to come down, and one of those young guys and Cook, Wingo, or Moore are going to go up. I think that's just how it's going to work out. Bond, I think you have to has to stay there no matter what, just because one experience and two talent and investment, three, I guess. Um, um, but he's already, he's already bona fide. We already know what we're gonna get out of him. I think Golden is that guy that you have just to steady a ship to make sure you can have a running offense in the beginning and that there's not too many fresh faces. But as some of these younger guys come on, or later in the season, we're definitely gonna see less and less of him. At least that's just my prediction right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think Bond is, even though like you guys said, started off kind of shaky, the fact that he was getting so many targets, Sark likes having a bell cow wide receiver, I feel like. Um, Maybe last season wasn't quite that, but I mean, you just think about Xavier Worthy over his career and how many targets he would get. Quinn wouldn't always connect with him, but he would still get a lot high end number of targets. Um, so I feel like Bond's gonna play that role almost no matter what. That's kind of how Sark does things. Um, I'm in agreement with Golden. I think you probably give him the start. Um, as for the other guy, I don't know. I think it's going to be Cook or Wingo, kind of like what Myers said.
I
What
Fall
think
sucks is,
camp.
there's gonna be a transfer in that room. It's gonna hurt like
yeah.
hell.
God, I hope not.
Hopefully the cream rises to the
I
top.
I think it's too.
Well,
I mean, a lot of these
not this
guys just
season. I
got
mean,
here.
I mean not this season. I mean at the
Oh,
end of the season.
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
I think if
Well, maybe
it's
I don't
I
know.
think
Bond's only here a year.
DeAndre Moore's the name that I would watch if it were to happen like
Sure.
within the little portal period because he's I guess you would say a little bit more buried than the rest.
He
But
was late to sign on too, so
yeah, he was a kind of a and he decommitted and recommitted to like five different schools in high school. So watch him, I would say. But man, he looked bought in on Saturday and he's
Yeah.
gonna get some playing time in some capacity. So I think you get creative with Silas Bolden whenever he gets here. I think maybe in the backfield, get him some handoffs or sweeps or stuff. Because that guy needs to touch the ball too. If you watch his film, that dude's like stupid like dynamic. So it's an embarrassment of riches, and
Yeah.
Sark wants this, and this is a good thing. If we do lose one of the portal, that would suck, but I don't think we'll lose any of our aces to the portal.
Well said. Any other spring thoughts, or do we want to do a quick NFL thought?
I'll just say, shout out Jarrett Gibson. That's a guy that I thought was just like a big old wrecking ball. He's kind of next up now that Savion Red entered the portal. Rest in peace. So that guy moves up the depth chart. I thought he looked really fast for his size. I thought he was just like a bruiser, but he showed some speed. And Christian Clark too. So that's the next lineage of Trishard choices, running back uh,
Yeah.
room. So, yeah, a lot of young guys. I'm forgetting names, but a lot to like about the freshman class. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Last
Madrid,
thought in the
anything?
spring game:
Yep.
mediocrity is not an option. I'm done. I'm done being like cautious with this team. We need a win. I need 10 wins every year now. Like I don't
Yeah.
care. I'm not playing this game anymore.
We're back on top. We're back to the good times.
I've never seen a team this talented on paper.
I'm not giving like the whole not giving excuses no more.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of depth and positions, because even the quarterbacks. I mean, I guess Colt wasn't Colt when Vince was playing.
Yeah. Cole was
Right
Trey Young.
now, Quinn is Quinn and maybe even better, and then Arch is like, I don't know. I think he's pretty much there based on his performance. So yeah,
Y'all think
I don't disagree. I mean, we got better receivers than we did in '05. We got, I think, running back room might be a little bit worse, if not about the same. I don't know. It's tough, but our defense isn't quite what '05 was, I think. But
no,
I hear you.
we do not have that secondary. I wish
Right,
we
it's
did.
his secondary.
Yeah. Do y'all think teams are going to tank for Arch? You think the Patriots are going to
That's
pass
a hell of a
Green Bay?
question, bro. Because it
Maybe.
begins now, dude.
Yeah, you start planning it out. Like, do you take a quarterback on Thursday, or do you wait 2 years potentially and get Arch Manning? So I don't know.
Hmm.
I think bona fide first round pick, of course, if he just has a decent career at Texas.
Right.
So, and if he's great,
Agreed.
I mean, bona fide first overall. So exciting. Hopefully a Heisman too.
That'd be great. All right, so now we are going to transition over to the NFL draft. That is Thursday, depending on when this video comes out. Maybe the next day, maybe a couple days from now. Um, yeah, I mean, hopefully this will be one of our Longhorns' best drafts in a while. Multiple projected first rounders, which we haven't been able to say in a long time. So that's pretty thrilling. Uh, Kind of give me your guys' thoughts heading into the draft. This should be fun. I think so. What are y'all thinking?
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. I mean, there were a lot of dark days over the past 13, 14 years where we had like two draft picks, zero first rounder. The first rounder was unheard of. And Bijan finally broke that ice for us last year. And now we're seeing it kind of compile where it's looking like how it should look. Byron Murphy, Xavier Worthy, AD Mitchell. And the most like current mocks, I know it's not a sure thing, but it looks like there's a good chance that those three all go in the first round, which would be awesome because it's been a long time since we've had really offensive players drafted in the first round. Like I think it was VY as the last one until Bijan.
Hmm.
And then not to mention like that stretch in the mid 2010s where we had zero people drafted in the first round. So it's just good to see. And what's most awesome about it, I would say, is Byron Murphy turning into defensive tackle number one in this draft class, a former three-star. You know, this program was always negatively recruited for two things. One, being in the Big 12. That's gone. We're in the SEC now. You can't negatively recruit that. And two, wasting your talent, not developing. Byron Murphy and Sweat were three-star dudes, journeymen. We've talked about this ad nauseum. And now Byron Murphy's going to end up being the first defensive tackle selected. I, you know, I'm pretty sure Thursday night, top 15, top 20, which is awesome. And Tavondre Sweat won the Outland. So we're putting to bed the narratives that we don't develop. And it's not just those two. I mean, we set like a record for Texas, like combine entries, like 11
Yeah.
dudes. So there's a chance we could get double digit people drafted. Probably not, probably more like 9 or 8. But this is just awesome, man. It's awesome to see our players being developed, winning big games, winning championships, going to the playoff, and going to the NFL draft. It's how it should look. this is what it kind of feels like to be Bama and Georgia. So hopefully we can like replicate this going forward. And
I mean, not quite yet. We're not quite on that level, but we're getting
yeah,
there. We're getting there.
oh yeah,
Madrid, how about you? You're our NFL guy.
I think what excites me the most is the amount of like day 2 and 3 guys we'll see too. Because I mean they're not gonna get paid as much, but they're still gonna get paid. I feel like back in the day it'd be maybe, and when it was like just 1 or 2 guys, it'd be like one maybe at the end of day 2 and one at day 3, and or just one in general if we were lucky. I think it's really cool to see the talent sprinkled across the different levels of the rounds and uh, I like Sanders is going to go somewhere nice and get paid. Even Sweat, despite his recent troubles, is going to go somewhere and get and probably be a value to someone. Um, and I think that's really special thing to have because I think it also motivates guys on the team right now. You don't have to be the first round pick that to make money or make it to the league. You could still be really good and go day 2, day 3 here. I think that's just more of you know uh, a recruiting ammunition in our back pocket. And like we can have a legitimate chance of getting you to the league, which is something we haven't been able to say for a long time. And I hope this is really I mean, last year we saw it a little bit, but hope this year for real this time we see a start of a little Texas NFL run that's actually noticeable. I mean, and it's kind of sad because in the past we've had some guys go to the NFL, but they've had to work themselves into from undrafted status into full-time roster spots. And while that's a feather in the cap for those guys, that just looks so poorly on us that we had the talent, it just wasn't developed till way later. So I think it's really cool to have um, you know uh, blue chip guys become or non-blue chip guys become NFL guys. And it's the start of something. Hopefully Thursday is the start of something really great.
Yeah, I mean, I think just seeing more than one player, because it'd be awesome if we have all three of those guys that you mentioned, Myers, make it in to the first round. Wouldn't shock me if one of those guys doesn't quite make it. But even just having two people in the first round is gonna feel special, I think, because I mean, I can't think of the last time that's happened. Um, oh, after '05, I mean, I mean, I'm sure it can't be that, but maybe it is, it's been a rarity for this program. So see a head in the right direction like that, where it's both offense and defense. I think that's really cool too. And not just one side of the ball. I think really shows the quality of team that Sark is putting together and the development. I mean, like you guys said, that's huge, with both of those tackles, as Myers said, being three-star guys. You see this all the time, at TCU and Boise State and all of these like little schools, and it's like, how are these guys getting first round picks? They're barely even recruited. They're just being developed, and I think just great talent scouting too. I think our talent scouting's gotten better too. Not even just our drafting, but um, I know we talked about Trey Owens already, but there were a lot of people that Texas could have gone after, and the fact that we picked him, and being a four-star from Texas, I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are four stars from Texas, and the fact that they picked Trey Owens and he's already looking like a good player for us. That's just one little example. So I don't know. I'm excited for it. Looking forward to it for sure. And but I think the real exciting moment will be next season when it's like a quarterback in the first round. That feels like that's kind of like a landmark, like, okay, we have arrived. You got the running back, you got your D tackle, wide receiver, all those are cool. When you got a quarterback, it's like, okay, we had a good team. So already looking ahead to 2025, but I don't know, man. It'll be good. Um Definitely watch for sure.
Yeah. I just remember getting clowned by the Sooners over the years about us not developing talent, and OU has so and so amount of offensive draft picks under Lincoln Riley and Bob Stoops, and it's just nice to see how it's like pretty much flipped, at least this year. Hopefully we can continue that, like you said, Trevor. But it's awesome. I'll definitely be watching. I usually don't watch the draft, but I gotta watch this year because we're gonna have at least the first round. I gotta see our boys, get paid and get drafted. That's it's awesome, man. We'll miss them. We'll miss them, but I think we got some good young talent to replace them.
For sure.
All right, true or false? Before we get off here, I want to throw this out here. True or false? Arch Manning takes over for Texas at some point next season. It could be because of injury. It could be because Quinn does horribly. True or false? Arch Manning is our quarterback at Texas A&M when we play in Kyle Field.
Ooh.
Because, like you said,
Oh,
if Quinn goes down, Arch is the type to just
to me,
not
that's
up.
I think that's the only way
Yeah.
because I don't think our schedule is difficult enough for Quinn to suck it up. I mean, we play Georgia, we play Oklahoma. Outside of that, I mean, we our schedule isn't, I mean, it could be tricky, but
Michigan's got a good defense. That could be one of those random bad Quinn games. But we're not
I'm
going to bench
It's
him. I
gotta
mean,
be catastrophic. We're talking
yeah,
3 picks
yeah,
first half.
right.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. I I think injury's the only way. I really
I
do.
think
And
injury is the only way, but it's gonna
I'm hoping that doesn't happen because
Yeah.
I want
like,
Quinn to have a
pick a
healthy
true or
season.
false, coward.
I'm saying false. I don't see it. I don't see it starting for A&M unless it's an injury, and I'm gonna say that
I
Quinn finally has a healthy season to end it off. He added weight. I think that's important. He's not a total twig anymore. He's part twig. Um, and I'm gonna say that Arch's hype is going to push him to be even better.
okay,
And but little caveat, I think Arch will get a lot of reps this year because I think we're gonna blow some teams out.
fair enough.
So
I I do not. I hate that I have to do this, but I don't want to wish any illness on our quarterback room. But Quinn's been getting hurt every year, and he misses at least 3 games. So I say true. I say true.
mm.
I say
At the
true.
end of the year though, Kyle
Yeah.
I
Field,
mean, I mean, when did Quinn got hurt? What stretch was that? Was it like
it was
6 through
it was the
9?
game after
Yeah.
Oklahoma. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
6 through 9.
My thought is just like I expect Quinn to get banged up a little bit. We do have a great O line. We do. There's a chance that he just gets like, the royal treatment this year, takes like very few sacks and it's fine. But I think I'm looking at that Georgia game. I'm looking at that OU game. They have great defenses. OU does too. I hate to say
Yeah.
it. They have good defense where it gets dicey and Quinn takes a hit and then something something's off. His arm's messed up. Arch comes in, right? And Arch is ready. Arch is prepared. He's a Manning. And like y'all said, I think he's gonna take the keys and run with it. And
Yeah.
I think Sark is loyal to Quinn. I think if Quinn does
I think
get
he
fully
is
healthy,
too.
he'll give Quinn another chance. But it's a nice spot to be in where you have a quarterback behind Quinn that's so dynamic. And Manning aside, like the name aside, I think it's just you have plenty of options. I mean, like it's But I have a feeling, I'm going to say true as well. I have a feeling that it's going to end up being Arch down the stretch for whatever reason.
Hmm.
But it's not like I want Quinn to
Look,
do bad or I want the Arch hype. I don't. We're going to get the Arch hype next year. It's coming regardless. He's
regardless.
not. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want the best
Team this year.
chance to win it all this year because I think this team could definitely make a deep run in the playoff and potentially, which I want more than the national championship. I would say not. That sounds stupid, but I really want to win the SEC in year one. I really do, and I think
No,
this team.
absolutely. That would shut up a lot of people.
Yeah.
I will say, Trevor, you mentioned kind of the NFL. You're like next year when we get a quarterback in there, and it's like Quinn has got to have like
Yeah.
Heisman worthy year for that to happen.
He'll still make it
And
in the first round, even if he has the same kind of year as he did last year.
it'd be him and what that guy from
Yeah,
Georgia,
it's
right?
not a
Not a
deep
stat class,
quarterback.
so
I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure quarterbacks will come out of the woodwork and have
Oh
great
yeah,
seasons. They
that's
always
a
do,
given.
but
I
yeah,
mean,
I'm
it was a legitimate question this year, so it's no doubt in my mind that he will go to the league.
yeah.
But if he wants that, first QB off the board type deal, then he really needs to. He needs to. He needs to. I mean, he's gotten better every year, so I really don't. I hate doubting him because he's answered every call so far. So, but yeah, it's gonna be an interesting season from that perspective.
Yeah, you can't have those inconsistent days this year just because of the stakes and just knowing what I don't want to like put more pressure on him. I mean, he's in a great
I think he
spot.
knows.
Yeah, he knows, and we just can't have those random games where he's just trash and just like scared and gun shy in the pocket because he's too old for that now, and he's got too much weapons around him. He's got too much good of an O line to be. He seems to let it rip, and he does a lot of the time, and that's what makes it so frustrating. Because most of the time he's on, but those random games where he's just like looks, I don't know, timid. We can't have those this year, and I think he'll overcome that. I think he's matured a lot. I think he's
In the press conference, he was talking about how him and him and Sark were working on pocket presence a lot more, and I think that's a good sign. I think they know what he needs to work on, and I think he'll get better at that. All I'm wishing for him is to lose the deer in the headlights look when the first read's not there. I really need him to be able to take that up. Like the improvisation needs to. I think he was able to improvise with his legs a lot better this year. The
Yeah.
next step, I think, for him is using the improvising with his arm a little bit
Yeah.
more and doing it on the run and moving in the pocket and doing it. So we
Mhm.
saw flashes of it. I remember in Bama seeing a lot of step
Bama.
up throws, big time
Yep.
throws, but it wasn't there consistently. So
Mhm.
exactly, it's year three. It's year three, Quinn. Like I need you to be the man.
Yep.
yeah.
And it's funny
Absolutely.
because the guy behind him, Arch Manning, is really good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's like
exactly.
one of the things that impressed
It's like
me the
his best
most. Is
trait.
like I'm like this
Yeah.
guy goes through his reads. Like he's
Yeah.
looking around and he's smooth. Oh,
Yeah.
he looks
Yeah,
so
that's what
good.
when we started this, I said there's some things that Arch does better than Quinn, and
Yeah, that's
that's
it.
it. I mean, he goes through
That
reads,
is it.
in the pocket, he stands tall. I mean, it's a spring game, but you know he's gonna do it. He's a Manning, and
Been
he's
doing
shown
that
it
since
throughout
the
his whole
womb,
career.
dude.
Yeah, he's just built like it's in his DNA. So, and Quinn does it too when he gets in that zone. We just need to see him in that zone most of the time, like more of the time than he is.
Yeah.
So,
All right, guys. Anything else?
Be a
Good
long summer,
show.
boys.
Long summer ahead. Yeah. You'll see us around every now and again. But regardless of that, you should totally subscribe, like, and comment. Do all three. We'll love you forever. But yeah, it's been a fun spring. Hope you guys enjoyed the game as much as we did, and go check out, support your guys on draft night. Hoping for some fireworks. So y'all take care. We'll catch you in the next video. Horns up. Enjoy the summer. Hook 'em.
welcome.
Welcome.